Here in the Zoom room, and I'm going to be taking over right now. And joining me here, we've got Cynthia Cabot, the Executive Director of the Guam Coalition Against Sexual Assault and Family Violence. Cynthia, it's nice to see you again.
Happy and good morning. Thank you for having me.
Always a pleasure. And Attorney General Levin Camacho joining us here because January is Human Trafficking Prevention Month. So obviously this is something that is a worldwide issue, and I wanted to talk about because human trafficking is not all a Liam Neeson movie, those kind of things that come to mind. There's a lot of other types of human trafficking that we see right here on Guam that everyone is having to deal with. So Levin, we'll start with you. By letter of the law, what exactly classifies as human trafficking?
Human trafficking, way to put me on the spot, but human trafficking is anytime you use force or coercion to get someone to either perform a sexual act. So sex trafficking is what we are most commonly familiar with on the island and what we talk about with massage parlors. But labor trafficking is the same situation, but just the force is being used to extract labor or to exploit someone so that they will perform services for you. Interestingly, the H-2B visa nationally is one of those areas where they're seeing more and more exploitation for those who are coming into the United States using H-2B visas. I just saw a stat, it was about 760 cases of human trafficking reported in 2 years for those who were here legally on visas. And then when they got here, whether they were housing them in humane conditions or they were taking fees as part of their staying with them and not paying them as much. So just starting the broader conversation that human trafficking is not just limited to sex trafficking. Yes, sex trafficking is dominating, but there are other forms of trafficking as well.
And in those forms of trafficking, you mentioned, by force. In some cases, it can be as simple as just taking that visa away or taking their passport and holding it from them, right?
Well, in the H-2B visa program, basically it's a threat of deportation because usually when you are here legally on a visa, it's specific to an employer. So if they're saying, okay, either you're going to do what I tell you or I'm going to send you back home, and that is another way that you can use force or coercion. You could also talk about taking passports. I believe in the NMI, that was a situation where it came maybe last year or so, where they found a drawer full of passports that they were holding for some of the construction workers that were up there. But I do want to talk a little bit more. Human smuggling is different than human trafficking because it doesn't require the crossing of borders, but just a very interesting case last year where I believe an adoption lawyer in Arizona was trafficking women from the Marshall Islands out to have babies, and they were adopting them across 3 states, Utah, Arizona, and I forget what the third one was. But, you just kind of hear it. It doesn't happen in our region, but the reality is we have within Guam, NMI, and FSM places where trafficking is occurring, and it doesn't make the front pages as often as it should. Construction too, I recall seeing stories, and it's not really pitched as a labor trafficking issue, but where you have employers who are holding their workers in inhumane conditions, or again, kind of extracting all these fees on top of it and deducting it from their pay. So it is something that affects us in the region and to be aware of. January 11th is the day, I guess, of the Wear Blue Day, and there'll be a proclamation signing in honor of the National Slavery and Human Trafficking Awareness Month efforts. So we'll be joining Cynthia and our other partners. And the Human Trafficking Task Force itself is made up of a wide variety of entities, from law enforcement to advocates. So you have a full range because oftentimes the victims of human trafficking require different types of services than a traditional a victim of crime would require. But I do want to give a shout out. Jane Flores, who's the director of the Bureau of Women's Affairs, created these wonderful PSAs in different languages: Chamorro, English, Tagalog, I think Chuukese, and Mandarin. We'll be rolling them out in videos, and we'll make those available to, I think, you, Andy, and anyone else who wants to view them. We'll be rolling them out over the next few days. And lastly,
yeah, they sent me all the pictures here. And Cynthia, we've got you joining us. So you're with the coalition and the proclamation signing in January. It seems like you and I just talked last year about some things that you had, and it was a month. I think it was Family Violence Month.
Yes.
And then you guys have all these months that you've got to keep lining up just to raise awareness about these issues. So January is a big one for you. Tell us about what the coalition has planned.
And actually, we are certainly taking the lead we defer the lead to the Office of the Attorney General in this matter, since they do handle the Human Trafficking Task Force, which the coalition is certainly an active member of. But on our part, we do more by way of training and supporting the awareness of. So we do have a training coming up in January. And as General Levin was starting to say, that they were going to do, that we have the Wear Blue campaign as well. So in light of that, we are supporting everyone to wear blue. Blue is the color, international color recognizing human trafficking. So we ask everyone to support us in wearing blue for the month, especially on January 11, when we will be having the Proclamation Day. We do have training, of course, coming up on the 13th, 14th, 20 and 21st. And the first week we will be focusing on law enforcement awareness and response. So we have our partners from Homeland Security Investigations, for example, who will be providing information on that. We will also be featuring our presenter from the U.S. Attorney's Office, Eric O'Malley, who will be talking about investigations and human trafficking operations. And of course, the link to victim services as well. And the second week, we will be featuring more of a focus on victim services. So we have reached out, and as General Camacho has mentioned, that this is certainly in the region, and we wanted to draw more attention to that. So we have reached out to our partners, such as representatives from the Pohnpei Women's Council, from the Chuk Women's Council, and even from the American Samoa Alliance Against Sexual and Domestic Violence to join us and to shed some light as to what they're seeing with regards to human trafficking, because it does impact us. It does impact the region as well.
Yeah, it does. And you bring up an interesting point that a lot of these people actually willingly walk into these situations because they just want a job, they want to support their families, and they, maybe didn't do their homework and someone is offering them a visa to, hey, go here and work for a little bit, and they walk right into this situation. So I think awareness to the people before they get into those situations is key, but also teaching them what to look out for. Do I ask for a certification or from this employer, or how does that work?
Well, actually, what we are also providing is we are planning to roll it out. And in partnership with the U.S. Committee on Refugees and Immigrants, we are setting up a trafficking victims assistance program whereby we can support from the coalition. Coalition doesn't provide direct services, but hopefully this will be one way that we can support our partners in being able to provide services. Because in addition to raising awareness about the prevention of, oftentimes those who are in those situations, maybe one, do not know that they are being trafficked, or two, do not know where to go to for assistance. So with this effort and with the lead from the Office of the Attorney General and General Camacho, we are hoping that through this month, we'll be able to raise greater awareness of this issue and where to go to for assistance.
Yeah, Levin, that's a good point Cynthia brings up. People, the employers or the traffickers use that fear to kind of keep people in line, like, oh, if you say anything, you're going to get deported or what have you. So for those that do think that maybe they're in a trafficking situation, who do they turn to? Who do they call?
Well, the Mariana Fusion Center actually has set up a hotline, so 671-475-0400. And if you either are a victim of or you suspect someone is a victim of trafficking, you can call that number and then they'll be able to refer it depending on if it's a law enforcement issue, they'll refer it to law enforcement. If it's a victim services issue, then we will get them to the places that they need to get to. So that is the number they can call. And it's interesting because we spoke maybe last year, 2020 feels like it was about 4 years. But maybe last year we talked to the Nurses Association, and nurses are sometimes the ones who find out about human trafficking victims because they either won't give their information or they seem scared with the person who brought them in. So I understand we're in the public health emergency, but we're hoping, it doesn't end in January, right? This is an issue that's always going to be something that we should need to be better about doing more outreach on. hopefully sometime in the future, we can do more trainings working with Cynthia on the medical professionals so that they know what to do, what to look for, and who to report it to if they believe someone is a victim. And that's how the Blue House case actually was reported. I believe it was through a nurse someone came in with injuries or a medical procedure, and then they reported it to law enforcement at that point.
And some of the victims, you've seen this in many cases, victims, it's hard to step forward with this out of fear of repercussions. So when the victim does step forward, present their case and talk to those people, is there anything that can be done to help them? Or is it just, hey, thanks for bringing this up, we'll see you in court, and then, be on your way?
I'll let Cynthia handle that because it's a very complicated situation.
Right.
You're going to have a wide variety of range of circumstances and situations. But, again, it goes back to victims of human trafficking. Sometimes you're going to get called in because of prostitution, right? You're soliciting someone and then you find out that they're actually a human trafficking victim. So you're going to handle that case differently than you would a traditional case. But Cynthia can probably talk a little bit more about that.
Right, Cynthia, because as you said, you don't do the direct services, you kind of manage a lot of these different organizations, so you have something to help those victims?
Well, actually, we don't manage them. We work in collaboration with them. And so, for one, for example, is Vero, Victim Advocates Reaching Out. Oftentimes that is the go-to number that we give out, 477-5552. It's right there on the tip of at my fingertips whenever someone would ask for information as to who to call. But then many times what we are also looking forward to is raising community awareness, talking about the prevention as well. And then also encouraging everyone in the community to be advocates, to be our community champions, because if anything, maybe that victim may feel comfortable about sharing with you. You may not be a law enforcement person. You may not be a medical health professional to be able to assist. So perhaps you can be that person who could be the link to other services. So, which is why we offer these kinds of training opportunities for increased awareness and reach out to the larger community to say, join us in our concerted effort to be able to stop the evil, as our ads will say.
Stop the evil. You have the flyers. I have them here. You can view those online. And stop the evil. And I feel like it's kind of a tricky situation that somebody, they do need the hired labor, and maybe they kind of, without even knowing, get themselves into where they are the trafficker. Have you seen instances like that, Levin?
Not that I'm aware of, Andy. I think typically it's going to be a subcontract. I mean, the cases that I'm familiar with, and I know Cynthia has mentioned the U.S. Attorney's Office. They've prosecuted a lot of these, and that's a huge component. Prevention, but prosecution, at the end of the day, you need to be willing to take action against those who are trafficking. But my understanding is that oftentimes it's going to be, like you said, you won't even know that your contractor or subcontractor is engaging in these types of activities until it breaks the news. So it's really the workers, and the case that I'm thinking of, the workers came forward and they reported it, that they were not being treated fairly.
And you mentioned the high-profile case there, the Blue House. Is that one fully wrapped up, or are there still some loose ends?
I believe those cases have all been resolved, Andy, at this point.
That was the big, the marquee case, I guess. But how many other cases of this has your office seen that maybe haven't made the news as much?
It's complicated, and part of it, defining it is very underreported, as you said. Usually, especially if there are immigration consequences, people may not be as willing to come forward and to report it. So part of our outreach is showing that we do have resources available, that you shouldn't feel as though you're the criminal. If you come in on a visa and you're being exploited, that okay, I don't want to come forward with my boss because they're either going to deport me or they're going to put me in jail. So we just need to be more upfront about what kind of services, and that we are going to hold the right people accountable in these situations.
And it's good. And I think, that's why we wanted to start this interview with defining what exactly the trafficking is. Many different forms, as you said, it's not just the sexual trafficking, there's the labor trafficking. So the services are there, Cynthia, and you are available to the victims to seek that help, and they don't have to worry about, things on their end. They just, you need to, these traffickers, they need to be held accountable.
Absolutely, and which is why victim service providers certainly work closely with our law enforcement as well, because in as much as we are trying to work to support the victims and survivors, we want to be able that justice is served as well, and that this doesn't continue. It is interesting to point out, though, that for the most part, we often think that perhaps it's only the adults that are involved with regards to labor trafficking and for sex trafficking. A couple months back, we did have the director for the Office in Trafficking in Persons do a visit here on the island, and she was appalled that when asked about the number of youth who are involved in trafficking, for example, we give her 0 as a count. Well, that goes to say that no one is reporting, but then again, do we really understand that? So hence the importance of defining what trafficking also looks like, especially for those under 18. So which is why with our upcoming training, we have also included our federal resources, such as the Office of Trafficking in Persons, to provide more information so we are better aware of what that might look like and be able to also come up with services to be able to reach out to youth, for example. So yes, it is really out there, but it's very well below the radar.
Yeah, and you want to be able to give people the awareness to know to not walk into those situations, so we don't have to send these cases to AG's office.
Right.
You nip that in the bud before it even starts for employers, the traffickers, and everyone else that's just, like I said, looking to support their families, maybe send some money back home, and they get into these situations. So raising awareness, definitely important. And January is the month, but this is a year-round thing, and it's obviously complicated for you, Levin, because this is something that spans different borders and jurisdictions. So you've got your hands in a lot of different agencies and countries, islands. So it is a big task, but hopefully we'll trend so this can go away and human trafficking won't be a problem.
Hope so, Andy.
Anything else you two would like to mention? I know January 11th is Wear Blue Day. Is that the blue that you're going to be wearing, Cynthia? Because I'm checking to make sure.
I'm starting ahead. There are different shades of blue, so wear blue.
All right. And if people want more information, Cynthia, can they go? I have these flyers. They were sent to me on WhatsApp, but I don't think you're going to be sending everyone on island the flyers to their phone. So where can they go and see them?
Actually, we do have information on to register for our upcoming training as well, and that's on www.guamcoalition.org. So we have lots of room. It is via Zoom, of course, virtual, like many things these days. But we encourage everyone to join us. We appreciate the support of our law enforcement partners, as well as our service providers, not just on Guam, but also in the region, for assisting us in putting this out.
A lot of people come together to, obviously work on this problem. Attorney General, anything you want to add before we let you go?
No, Andy, I think Cynthia covered a lot of it, and we'll also on our website, I believe, have the videos. We are learning how to use YouTube, so I think all the information videos that are coming up, we've learned how to create a playlist, so all the different languages will be available on our YouTube channel. Is that what they're called? And we'll also have the images available as well, so we'll be able to forward that link to you. I look forward to seeing the photo of you wearing blue on January.
All right, well, thank you very much, both of you. Again, January is Human Trafficking Prevention Month. Just raising awareness so you know, and we can get rid of this stuff. So thank you again, both. Have a wonderful day and Happy New Year.
Thank you, and Happy New Year.
Thank you.
All right, we're going to take a real quick break, I believe, Sabrina, and then we'll be back to close out the show.
One is an off day. I am A1C Jefferson Augustine from the 254 Red Horse